am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today, I have my special guest. She is a copywriter, entrepreneur, but of course, she is an author, no other than Miss Liv Arnold. Welcome to Book 101, Miss
Hi,
Liv.
thank you so much for having me.
Miss Liv, can you please introduce yourself?
So I'm Liv. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I've written three books. So they're all romance books. The first book is Law and Disorder. That's an enemies to lovers type romance. And then I've written two books, which is in part of the same series. So Etched in Stone and Stepping Stone. Besides writing, I've done copywriting and I talk a lot about mental wellness because I've always had anxiety. And also, I've been lucky enough to be on the cover of some magazines to promote my work and to talk about mental wellness. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Sounds interesting, Miss Liv. So, what is the big difference of being a copywriter and an author?
Copywriting, it's mainly for companies. So, I write articles for companies, or it could be other things like updating their website. So that's the copy in the website, writing blog posts, writing social media posts. It could be a whole range of different things, writing marketing material. So it's all about just portraying the company in the best light.
Yes, sounds interesting. So, what age did you realize that you're good in writing?
Writing has always been one of my best subjects. Since I was at school, I loved reading and I always borrowed every single book from the library. I was obsessed with Enid Blyton books like The Children of the Cherry Tree Farm and The Twins of St. Clair and I used to love writing short stories and picture books when I was younger. So I did that a lot, but I didn't think it was a proper path being a writer. So I went to uni, I did arts and commerce. That's what I studied. And then I the first job I got after uni was working at a big four bank in risk and compliance. But since I didn't think writing was an option, um, I was just more thinking about work. But then my mum mentioned to me that I've always been good at writing, so maybe I should take a creative writing short class that's outside of work hours. And so I did the short courses, and I loved it. And so I kept doing the short courses, and that's when I thought maybe a career in writing could be a future.
That'd be awesome. So, who are the authors that you influence you the most in your writing?
Firstly, Enid Blyton. I'm not sure if your readers have heard of her, but I guess everyone's heard of her. I used to read her books to my brothers before they went to bed. I would read books like The Famous Five, The Secret Seven, The Children of the Cherry Tree Farm. So all these adventure type books that sort of takes you into another world and think that kids can go on adventures too. Um, After that, I one of my biggest inspirations was J.K. Rowling. I think a lot of authors say that because, again, her books, she's so good at world building that you sort of forget about whatever's happening at the present at the moment, and she takes you to another world. So I'm quite obsessed with Harry Potter. I've got so many of their merchandise and around my home. So like the soft toys, the posters, the mugs, and the board games. And I guess romance author wise, I've been really lucky to get a few really kind endorsements from New York Times bestselling authors. So Meredith Wilds, Jay Kenner, and Cherry Adair, they all write spicy romances with strong um, lead female characters where there's lot of substance to their books. So it's not just a romance. It's, for example, Meredith Wild's books. Her first series that I read, Hardwired, it's about this woman that works in an IT dominated industry. Yeah, so I really enjoyed all these books.
Miss Liv, if you describe their writings, what is it or what are they?
So with describing their writings, they're they're all romance. So Jake Kenner, Cherry Adair, Meredith Wild. Meredith Wild does the spicy romance. Her, I believe she got inspiration from her books because she used to work in an IT industry, which was very male dominated, and that's why she wrote that Hardwired series. Um, Jay Kenner, I read all her billionaire romance, so starting from Release Me, um, and both of the main male and female character, they have some form of mental health challenge, and I love that she really normalizes um, with how openly it's discussed talking about mental health challenges. And Cherry Adair, she's amazing. Like, she's always been a big support to emerging authors, and she writes a lot of romance action, so it does keep you on the balls of your feet, um and wanting to know what happens next with all the books and with that adventure and the action.
Very well said, Miss Leaves. Behind the story, why you are in the cover of Bazaar magazine.
Oh yeah, Harper's Bazaar. That was really cool. So the so it was in Harper's Bazaar, Serbia, and and I believe that what the cover, so it's all written in Serbian, and I had to look up what that tagline is under my name. And for what it says, I can't even pronounce what it says in Serbian, but translated into English, it's called Words That Change the World. And I love that tagline. I think authors, they do play a big part in supporting people, especially when they're at low times or if they're feeling lonely, because they can escape to this book. Um, for me, Words That Change the World, for my novel Stepping Stone, is my main male character. He has PTSD from serving in the war in Afghanistan, and I got inspiration from that, from people that's from a friend that served in Afghanistan, and he told me the signs of PTSD to look out for. So I used that into my story. And since I've always had anxiety, I could use my experiences and symptoms to normalize talking about anxiety or mental health challenges, because it is so normal in today's day and age, but it's not often talked about. So I do love using my stories to normalize things and for people to think that it's okay to talk about it.
So, do you consider yourself a supermodel author?
Oh, I never thought of myself as a model. So I'm only 5'2", so I'm not a model at all. But I've been really lucky to be in some magazines, and it's more about to promote my books or to talk about my books and my mission for why I'm doing it. So usually my books have mental wellness aspects into it. And so it just happened that I got into these magazines to talk about my books, which I've been really lucky about.
Yes, not only Bazaar, you also Grazia. Tell us about that.
Grazia was pretty cool. Similar to Harper's Bazaar. I had an interview talking about my latest book, um, and the cover, it said Liv Arnold writes her own rules, and I really love that um because a lot of people think that romance books, it's very stereotyped or cliched, that it follows a format, but that's not really the case. A lot of people, they do get comfort with reading romance books because there's that fairy tale aspect there. But in my books, there is still that happily ever after. But I still mention real life issues and challenges that with relatable characters that people can relate to. So I do want to break that stereotype of what people think a romance author is. A lot of people think that romance authors are frumpy, middle-aged, desperate housewives, and they and they think all these things that aren't true. So I do want to change the way people see the romance genre.
Yes, indeed, Miss Lee. But before we go on, I want to shout out to the people listening in Australia, the Down Under. In Western Australia, I got 29% audience share. Victoria at 23, New South Wales at 20%, Queensland at 16%, Australian Capital Territory at 7%, South Australia at 4%, and last but not the least, Tasmania at 1%. Thank you, Down Under, for supporting this podcast, because this podcast is created to empower writers all over the world, like Miss Liv Arnold. Miss Liv, which books of yours we gonna talk about today?
So we'll chat about Stepping Stone. That's my latest release, and I really love that book. It, um, it's a second chance romance. It's about a married couple that separates, but then they find their way back to each other, and I think that's so common. If you've been together for so long, there will be some challenges to work through, and for you to come back to each other.
So Stepping Stone is a series, a quartet, or a trilogy?
It'd be a trilogy. So the first book was Etched in Stone. So that's a billionaire romance, and each book is based on a female team member that's based in an investment and in an investment firm, and so it's a three-person team, all women. Um, and each book will be based on a different female team member. So the first book was a first love type romance. It does have financial crime elements, and um, so it is romantic suspense in some ways, but it does have that laugh out loud moments. Then Stepping Stone, what is the second book in the series, that's a second chance romance about a couple coming back together, and it does address mental health wellness issues. And then I'm working on the third book in the series, which is about each of them will have financial crime aspects, but it'll be about a manager that's dating a younger colleague. So it'll come back in the full circle. So the first book, the main female character was dating the CEO of the company, but then when it comes to the last book, the female character will be dating someone in the team that's in a more junior position than her.
Sounds interesting. Miss Liv, Stepping Stone invested in your new book too. What behind the title?
So Stepping Stone, so in book two, and I liked the series name Invested in You because it's the books are set in an investment company, and that's um and I use my experience from working in a big four bank about the financial crime elements that could happen in a big four bank and work in the finance industry. So that was really interesting to delve deeper into it. In Stepping Stone specifically, um, where I explore things like insider trading and also hacking the company system. So I asked questions from a friend that works in IT, and he gave me insight on what it's like to see um, see your computer getting hacked live. So actually visually see what's happening in front of you. And yeah, so it has that hacking aspect to it. And there's that mystery in that book what um about who might be hacking the company system. So it has it's financial crime, it's romantic suspense, and it has that laugh out loud type moments as well.
Yes, and according to Miss Deborah Richmond, a second chance sizzle. What are the elements that you put in the story that make the reader sizzle?
Um, I think it's relatable. Like I know that's not always counted as spicy, but um, I think a lot of people they want to be able to easily picture themselves in the characters. So since it's not a fairy tale type romance where the main male character isn't the prince, he's not the CEO, he's sort of a regular guy, and the situation is the couple separates and has been separated for a while at the beginning of the book, and it's to find ways to spice up their love life and also work on themselves separately and together so that they can come back to each other. And I think that's something a lot of people can relate to. And with this book, when they are separated, the main female character, Jenna Kravitz, um she, she has all these desires, like she's always fantasized about like BDSM, like whips or something like, or other things like that. And she's never been comfortable enough to share that with her husband, even though they've been together for so long. And I think that's important, to be able to share what you truly want with your partner, whether even though if it might sound taboo or not, but it's to continue growing as a relationship. And maybe people might read these books and be thinking, I've been in a long-term relationship too. Maybe I can address it with my partner to try this, and this.
Yes, definitely. Interesting, Miss Lee. And according to Miss Felicia, emotional and spicy. How spicy it is, Miss
Oh,
Liv?
it's so spicy. Yeah, it's so spicy. Like, if you like spice, this is the book for you. There are some sex scenes in the book, but for romance books, I it's good to use those sex scenes to build character development and to move the story forward. So each sex scene, it does reveal a bit more about the characters, and to um and for them to grow as characters as well. So they they end up, like, from the beginning of the book to the end, they end up like with so much character development, um and not quite the same as per the beginning because of all these scenarios that's happened.
Yes, and according to Avid Reader, great read. How great the book it is, Miss Liv.
Yeah, I really enjoy seeing people's writing really nice reviews. I know a lot of authors don't read their reviews, but I always do. I just can't help myself. So I really enjoy it when people write things about what resonates with the book, what resonates with them with the book. And my favorite reviews are the ones that say that my book took their mind off their problems a little bit. And that's my favorite type of reviews, because it shows that it has impacted them in some way.
Yes, definitely, Miss Liv. So, do you think rejection or bad reviews make you better?
Yeah, I think so. I know a lot of the times I do sometimes take rejection to heart. So when I first was trying to get the publishing contract, I was getting rejected, and sometimes I would be given full list of what a publisher didn't like about my book, and that sort of thing. It does sting initially, but it's always good for people to give their honest opinion, an honest review, and I think other authors, it does sting them as well. But if the way I see it, as if you only have really positive reviews on your book, then it starts to look a bit fake. So at least it shows a different type of viewpoint. And my book, or anyone's book, it can't be for everyone. So it's good people are even reviewing it. And with rejections, like in book publishing, it did used to hurt at the time, like, because I would get a lot of self-doubt. So I'd be thinking maybe my book's not that good, or I'm not that strong of a writer. But um I just sort of see it as, if I'm not getting rejected, it means I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm not moving forward. So if I'm not failing, I'm not trying hard enough. And I'm just trying to think of rejection as a badge of honor or badge of merit, that it means that I'm moving forward.
Very well said, Ms. Lee. But before we go on, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, Food 101, our third season with Chef Alessandro, one of the best executive chef in one of the best restaurant in downtown Toronto. And listen to our latest episode. We talk about one of the best trademark of Italian cuisine, Buco Milanese. Plus one more, our books are out. Not only one, but seven volumes, people. Food 101, Volume 1, Basics until 7 is available on Amazon and leading online bookstores worldwide. So, Miss Lee, Stepping Stone, how did you crafted it?
So I crafted it. So when I was writing the first book, Etched in Stone, um, I always had the idea that when I'm writing that book, that the next book, Stepping Stone, will be about the character Jenna, because I already sort of developed her a little bit in that first book. And I already mentioned in that first book, Etched in Stone, that she was separated with her estranged husband. So I thought that would be a really great way to set up the book and crafting it. I'm actually not that organized when it comes to writing, so I don't have every single page and chapter planned, but usually I know how the book will end, and I usually know what um what the first chapter will be, and I like to have some sort of mystery in the book to create that narrative tension. So with that stepping stone, my stepping stone book, there's that narrative tension about who's hacking the company system, uh, and I like to give the readers clues and to take them on a journey for, like, maybe it keeps them guessing until the end for who it could be. So the readers will not only enjoy the second chance romance of Jenna and Marco and find themselves getting back together again, but also try to figure out who's hacking the company system. And with Jenna and Marco, um, it, I always said that thought that life is stranger than fiction. So I do use some real life moments um and maybe some of friends' experiences to put into the book, because that just makes it more relatable.
Do you think in the future, Miss Lee, you're gonna go outside your comfort zone and writing another genre?
Oh, I'm actually when I first started writing, I wanted to get into writing children's books because I thought that would be really amazing to write books that it could be the first book that the kid has ever read, or a book has that got into the kid into reading. So I'm working on a young adult novel at the moment. So young adult fantasy, and it has Asian mythology in it, and that's a little bit different to what I've written. And yeah, so I'm currently editing it. So just going through the whole book again. So it's already written from start to the end. But it's been a different challenge, writing a different genre. It's still got romantic elements in it, but having to write that fantasy world building and incorporate Asian mythology, it takes quite a bit of research.
And let's talk about the main character of
Yeah.
Stepping Stone.
So my main female character, Jenna Kravitz, and my main male character, Marco Kravitz. So Marco Kravitz, he is a family guy. He has PTSD from serving in Afghanistan. Um, so he has a lot of challenges. So my friend that served in Afghanistan, he told me signs to look out for, like being startled by a car backfiring or something like that. And so he has his challenges to work through. My main female character, Jenna Kravitz, um, she's a very loving mother of two, and she is trying to discover who the hacker is in the company of Stone Corp. Otherwise, her job might be at stake. And she has mixed feelings about this because she has been working in the company for about 10 years. So she thinks that her job's at stake, but she also thinks the company is so rarely wanting to let her go over one thing. So she has conflicted feelings, and when at the beginning of the story, she's dating, so because she's estranged from her husband, she's dating, but she's not having much luck with dating. And even from the beginning of the story, she talks about some of her sexual desires that she might want to explore with her partner later on, but she's always been too shy to voice it out loud. And when Marco and Jenna, they're both introduced very on in the book. They're very hostile towards each other at the beginning, because of all the things that's happened in their marriage that led to their separation. But then, towards the end, that they work so much on themselves, both individually and as a couple, that they come back a lot stronger together.
Interesting indeed, Miss Leave. So, Stepping Stone, what do you think the best highlight?
Um, for, for my best highlights, I really like writing the more comedic type moments, and they're things that you could easily picture, things that could happen. So there's stuff that happens throughout the book where um she gets sort of caught in embarrassing situations in public places, and I really enjoyed writing those scenes because just to picture myself in that moment, and it's something that a lot of people can relate to, just those embarrassing moments in public places and how you react to it.
Yes. So, Stepping Stone, do you think it's good for a series or a motion picture?
Oh, I love that. That's the dream for a lot of authors. I would love for it to be in a movie or a TV series. The characters are very well developed and they go on a journey together. So a lot of my reviews that I've got, they've said it's like an emotional journey. Yeah, so I would love seeing that in a TV series or movie.
If you compare Stepping Stone to a classic love story movie,
Mm.
which one?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of which one because it is a second chance romance. I'm trying to think of a movie or TV show where the couple has separated, but they bring themselves back to each other. I guess the latest movie I saw was Ticket to Paradise with George Clooney and Julia Roberts, and they had a similar dynamic where they've been separated for a long time, um, but but they've grown so much as people that they're ready to be back together or like come back to each other again.
Oh, wow. Very well said, Miss Leave. And thank you, Listen Notes, for my latest score of 26 and belong to 10% popular show. Thank you, Listen Notes. So, Miss Leave, are you independent or traditional publishing?
I'm traditional publishing, but with a lot of publishers, they do want the author to be able to do their own book marketing and publicity, um, I've always, since I've had day jobs working in publicity and marketing, it's been good to have that knowledge base to be able to promote my books and to give my books a bigger audience. So yeah, I'm a traditional published, but I have friends both in traditional and self-publishing, and that they both say pros and cons for both. So it's important just to see which is the right option for you.
Yes, if you're happy with it, go for it. So, can you give us the pros and cons of being traditional publishing?
Um, Traditional publishing is, well, one thing is that majority of the profits will go to your publisher. So that's one con. Um, but it also, the pros and cons also depends on the publisher with you're with. Um, so I was lucky that my publisher, I was quite involved in what the cover of all my books might look like. I heard that other publishers might not be as collaborative with that, but I was really lucky that they valued my opinion to do that. Um, and that so that's a plus for me, and also to have someone there to help me edit my book and to give feedback on how um of how it might sound. Also another plus of being traditionally published is your publisher might have some marketing tips that they might share with you or opportunities that they might share with you. But yeah, there's other cons like having to do a lot of your own book publicity, depending on your publisher's resources. And the big one is that a lot of the profits do go to the publisher rather than you as an author. So yeah, there's a lot to consider.
Very well said, Miss Lee. So, what are your inspiring message for those aspiring writers out there?
Um, yeah, for people that want to start writing, I would just tell them to, I guess, just start writing it because every second person always says they would love to write a book if only they had the idea or had the time, but there'll never be an ideal time or where every single duck is lined in a row to start writing a book. So you just need to get started, and there's no time like the present. And even doing small steps, like aiming for only writing maybe 10 to 15 minutes a day. At the end of the year, you'll be pretty close to having a draft of a book. So doing something is better than nothing.
Yes, indeed. We are encouraging you to do your writing, people. Who knows? You are one of the best in the making. So stop procrastinating, people. Go for it.
Yes.
Miss Lee, can you please invite our listeners to buy all your books?
Yeah. So I've got my book Law and Disorder, Enemies to Lovers Romance, then Etched in Stone and Stepping Stone. So they can find my which is livarnold.com. They can find my books on all major online retailers. So retailers like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, Apple, all those ones that you might find it in. Or they can check out more of my work on my social media. So my social handles is liv_au, and that's what Instagram and also Twitter. Or they can find me on Liv Arnold Author on Facebook, and that's something where I post about my books quite regularly.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Liv Arnold because if you support her, more books to come. So, Miss Liv, what are your struggles in writing Stepping Stone?
My struggles in Stepping Stone. So I guess like I tend to procrastinate quite a bit when it comes to writing. Um, yeah, I procrastinate a lot, but yeah, so that's my main struggle with all books in general. And but I just try to push through it. So with writing my books, I set 15 minutes at a time, and I just think anyone can do 15 minutes and to just keep going until the timer goes off. So I do sprints of 15 minutes, and I try to do that a few times a day so that I at least have something down on the page. And but that's a struggle I have with all books, trying to get to the end.
Bodycount people, see you soon.